Good evening. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Secretary Ciccolini, would you please lead?
Yes, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I first want to welcome my fellow board members. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
I'd like to mention that Selectman Riley will not be in attendance this evening. She's under the weather. Want to welcome our town manager, Scott Crabtree, and our clerk, Meredith, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, and ladies and gentlemen at home. As I'm sure you see, we're in a new location because our town hall is being renovated, and I think we're going to have a good sound system tonight, so that's pretty exciting.
This is great to be at the senior center here.
We're at the Belmonte if you want to come down. And this meeting, just like all of our meetings, is being recorded. The first item on the agenda under correspondence, we have Mrs. Ellen Shenna, our Saugus Town Clerk, Board of Selectmen to approve reduction in hours for first week of in-person early voting for the presidential election. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. As you know, November 5th is our presidential election. As per state statute, we have 2 weeks of early voting starting on Saturday, October 19th. As per the Election Advisory 2022-01, we are allowed to reduce our first week by half the hours. The Election Division for the state of Massachusetts has okayed the hours that I have brought forth to you, as well as the Board of Registers has voted and approved these hours as well. The first week of early voting in person for the town of Saugus would be Saturday, October 19th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday, there will be no in-person early voting. Monday, October 21st, would be 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tuesday, October 22nd, Wednesday, October 23rd, and Thursday, October 24th, would be 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Friday, October 25th, from 9 a.m. to 11. The second week hours will remain full hours as per regular in-person early voting. What I need is approval from the board for me to post this for the citizens of Saugus to know that the first week has been reduced.
Thank you, Mrs. Shenna. One question, will this information be on the town's website?
It will be on the town's website. I will have it also posted in the newspapers. And as per the Election Advisory 2022-01, they will be posted in the public buildings as per the library, the senior center, our Saugus Public Safety Building, as well as the precincts.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions this evening?
No, Madam Chair.
Seeing none, can I hear a motion, please?
Madam Chair,
Selectman Ciccolini.
I'll make the motion that we accept and vote to approve the early voting schedule as outlined by our town clerk.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Ciccolini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Shen.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thanks for your time.
The next item on the agenda is a block party permit request from Christine Graffio, 7 Warren Road, Saugus, Mass. For October 5th, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Is Ms. Graffio in the audience?
No, Charlie, her husband's here.
Oh, you don't.
My son Nicholas.
Good evening.
Hi.
And your name and address, please.
Charlie Graffio, 7 Warren Road.
Thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about the block party?
Well, they were doing it before I moved in on the street. Darren Ring used to get the permit every year. And the last couple of years, I took over for Darren. And we just moved it. It used to be Labor Day. We just moved it back a couple of weeks so everybody could get together. There's a lot of people been going away lately. And we just cook some food, and have a good time and hang out.
And are you familiar with the Saugus conditions and restrictions on block parties?
Absolutely.
And I assume you're going to be working with our police department to make sure the barriers to keep everybody safe. And do board members?
Make sure we have enough room on the street for emergency personnel to drive by if we have to, all that.
Perfect.
We went over this last year, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do board members have any questions?
No. Madam Chair?
Selectman Chicalini?
It's not a question, just a statement. In my tenure on the board, this has been an annual event. There's never been any issues or problems, and, you know, it's probably a great thing.
I've been there 8 years, and
A great thing for our community. You've always complied. The police have never had any problems, and,
Yep.
you know, it's pretty much a slam dunk, so.
okay.
No, I think it sounds like a lot of fun, so.
Yeah, we have fun.
Thank you for
We have a good
coordinating
group
it.
of neighbors.
Do I hear any motions?
Madam Chairman,
Secondman Cogliano?
I'll move to approve the request.
And that's seconded by the chair. The request with the conditions and restrictions.
Correct.
And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Selectman
Just want to
Chicalini?
add in there that we're going to put the time, we're voting on Saturday, October 5th, 11 to 8 p.m., but the rain date would be Sunday, October 6th, 11 to 8, so just let the police know about that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have the motion, it's seconded. Is there additional discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Selectman Cogliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Have a great time.
Good luck.
Great.
Have
Thank you.
fun.
It is now time for our first public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Saugus Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on the request of 711 32 Hamilton Street, Gail Bagnera, proprietor, to extend hours of operation to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This public hearing will be held on September 24th, 2024, Saugus Town, well, we're here now, at 7:05 PM. Is the applicant here? Hi, could you please come to the podium? And, I mean, we know your name, but if you could give your name and address again, please.
Good evening. Gail Bagnera, 50 Mount Vernon Street, North Reading, Mass.
And can you tell us about the 24 hours and why you would like an extended hour?
So
extension?
it is required by corporate 7-Eleven that I do apply for the extended hour permit.
And is this something that would help your business succeed?
It's difficult. The overnights are difficult to staff and to operate a 24/7 business, but it is something that's required, so.
So if we didn't grant you the 24 hours, how would that impact you?
If you did not grant me the 24 hours, then everything would remain the same. And I'd be open 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week.
Selectman Chicalini, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so actually, it's more a comment. I know that in the past, we have had this permit for that location, and my understanding, obviously, has been that it's been obviously difficult labor market and how that applies. So, you know, I don't have a strong opinion either way, but it's hard when the applicant comes to you. You know it's going to be difficult for you to staff that, and then the question is there, I mean, it is across from the police station, so I don't think safety is as much of a problem, but I just wonder if, you know, is it something that's going to be, is it feasible for your business? Can you really staff the hours that you're looking for in this extended hours? Or would there be a period of time, you know, we applied for 24 hours, but right now you're only open till 11. Would there be an extension from 11 that's not 24 hours that would be more advantageous but less hours? And that's something to consider as well, because the extended permit is really from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. or
Okay.
something like that, right? 2 to 6?
Yeah.
Is the extended hours. So the question is, you know, we don't want to put you in a position where we approve the permit if it's not really going to be usable. That's the only question I had, and I think Selectman Cogliano.
Yeah, Madam Chairman?
Please.
I think since COVID, it's certainly indication with other businesses that no one can find help, especially late night. Even a place like the Kowloon closes early. Most nights are closed by 9:30, and they used to be open till 1:30 every night. I think that the help is an issue. I think certainly some of the clientele that roams the streets late night in Saugus is an issue. I tend to think that this, at one point, was probably a good idea, and now I think it's best to keep the 24-hour operations on Route 1. I don't necessarily think it's viable to have in the neighborhoods. So I understand, I have a similar business in my property. It was once a 7-Eleven, and we didn't allow them to open 24 hours back then. And now it's Richdale, and they have certain hours they have to abide by. But I don't see the benefit as far as being a business owner and watching that business late night. I don't see the traffic out there that would warrant it, so I'm fine with not voting the additional hours.
I think the board wants to do what's in the best interest to try to help you, the applicant. And so we're hearing you. Is there additional discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chairman,
Selectman Sereno.
I personally agree with my colleagues. I've never had one person come up to me in the last 5 years I've been back on the board that said, well, we should open 7-Eleven 24 hours a day. The only comments I get from the public, rightfully so, is that place is really run down. And I hope you take that message back to your property owner. It really needs to, it's just really run down over there. So I'll support my colleagues in not granting the license. Thank you.
Any other comments before I open it up to the public hearing? Seeing none. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak either in favor or opposed to this application? Seeing none, what do I hear from the board?
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Cogliano.
make a motion to close the hearing.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Cogliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Selectman Cogliano.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to deny the request.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Selectman
one thing, if it's
Ciccolini.
okay with Selectman Cogliano,
Sure.
we should just put in there that based on location, impact in the current state of the labor market, and the comments by the petitioner about the difficulty in staffing, those are the reasons for denial.
Thank you. It is always important to have, if you have to go back to corporate, it's important to have that in there. So we have it second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Selectman Cogliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
good
you for
night.
your time.
It is now time for our 7:10 public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Saugus Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on the application of Aggregate Industries, Inc., 1831 Broadway, Saugus, Mass., to extend a special permit S2 to allow the removal of earth and rock and the operation of a quarry at 1731 Rear Broadway, assesses map block, lot number C6/1/16, old plan number 2030, old lot number 61 in Whittier Avenue, map block, lot number C6/1/21, old plan number 2031, old lot number A-122 for a period of 6 months. And this is our 7:10 hearing. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair Lady. Good evening, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Richard Magnan with an office at 194 Central Street here in Saugus, representing Aggregate Industries. This, as the board is quite familiar with, is the semi-annual request for a 6-month extension of the quarrying and rock and blasting permit, special permit that has been in existence for many, many years. I spoke to Jared Temple, the regional manager of the environmental and land this morning. Indicated there were no blasts recently. There may be a blast in the fall, but all notice would be given to everybody required under the conditions of the permit anyway, if that does take place. The only other matter was he did, and Selectman Serena might be more familiar with this than I, that the post-closure committee is awaiting coordinating a scheduled meeting this fall with Paul Rupp, I think is coordinating.
Yes. Yeah, well, we usually have 2 meetings a year, one in the spring and one in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, Madam Chair, there's nothing else to present.
Thank you. Either a question to you or Selectman Sereno, where are we on the timeline for total reclamation?
They estimated in the beginning, we did a fill management plan in March 2017, and it was supposed to be done in 3 phases. The quarry itself is about 60 acres, and we were filling in about 31 acres to be filled in. It was supposed to be done in 3 phases. They projected 15 years. I think we're just a little over, last report that we got in the spring, they were a little bit over 40% filled, I think 42% filled.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak either in favor or opposed to this application? Seeing none, what are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair,
Selectman Chicalini.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Selectman Chicalini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion that we grant the request of Aggregate Industries, Inc., 1831 Broadway, Saugus, Mass., requesting their extension for the 6 months. We'll give them the extension for the 6 months of operations at the location, 1731 Rear Broadway, and the assessors map as outlined in the listing. Also, this will be subject to the same 30 conditions and restrictions that have been attached for since the beginning of time, and those will still remain in force.
Thank you. Selectman Chicalini, and that's seconded by the chair. Yeah, there's actually 31. That was the joke of the day. Was there 30 or 30? There are actually 31 conditions. Yeah, this page shows 30, but I knew there was 31, and Meredith and I spent, about an hour looking for the last condition today.
Okay. 31.
So with
We
that...
should add it. We
So-
should add it, whatever it is. to the
Madam
list.
Chairman.
Yes,
Yeah,
Selectman
just
Serena.
to note for the public, those 31 conditions evolved from a lawsuit that was settled in land court by the neighbors back in the 90s, I believe, Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the public to know.
Thank you, Selectman Serena. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote, please, Meredith.
Selectman Cogliano.
Yes.
Selectman Sereno.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cogliano.
Chicalini.
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 Yes.
Sorry. And Chairman Canal.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
It is now time for our 7:15 public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Saugus Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on the request of PPT Hospitality LLC, 255 Main Street, Unit A, Boxford, Mass. 01921, doing business as Stella Pizzeria, for a common victualer's license and entertainment license to operate Stella Pizzeria, 463 Essex Street, Saugus, Mass. 01906. And, hi,
Good evening, Madam. Good evening, Board
Good evening.
members.
your
My
name and
My name is
address.
Saugus Safi, 51 Overlook Ridge Drive, Malden, Massachusetts.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us a little bit about, I know you're going to be standing up here for 2 hearings, but can
Yes.
you first tell us a little bit about Stella's and your ownership?
Okay. I represent PPT Hospitality, which owns Stella Pizzeria and Dumpling Garden. We took ownership a few months ago, and during that time, we've tried to improve it as much as we could. We've installed exterior grease trap. We've cleaned up the place, and we're trying to provide the best service as we can to our customers and provide pizzas.
So are your hours of operation, are they Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 12 noon to 11 p.m.?
It's going to be 11 a.m. till 9:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time, please?
Monday through Thursday,
Monday through Thursday?
11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. And Sunday would be 9:30 p.m. as well. 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Okay. So Stella, there was some information that needs to be provided to Mike Lavecchia, who is a building inspector. And He has been looking for an occupant load count calculation for dining seating area, and this could affect the parking as well, and will require a parking plan should this be the case. So I spoke with him today, and he said that if you keep the same, because Stella's actually, there's 16 seats, currently there are 20, so you were looking to reduce the number of seats there, but for dumplings, you're looking to go from 13 seats to 20 seats.
Yes.
What the building inspector recommended that we, because he does not have the information to make the needed recommendations for us to make changes, that to go with the current seating, what they currently have.
Okay, that's no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do board members have questions for the applicant?
No. No.
You looked like you were going to say something. Do you have any
No,
questions
no,
for the
I don't.
applicant?
I don't think, I was just going to say, I don't think the building inspector would have an issue with lowering the seats. I think he would have if they want to go to 16 in Stella's, I don't think the building inspector would have a problem going from 20 to 16 if you feel like 16 is is what you really need. That we can't go from 13 to 20 in Dumpling Garden on the next one.
Okay.
Because that's an increase and we can't do the increase. But if you feel like you only need 16 seats in Stella's, we can give you 16. If you want the 20, we'll do 20, but it's what your business model needs.
Well, we currently have sitting availability only for about 16 people, so unless I add more tables to it, we won't have any.
And you can always come back to us
Yeah.
and try to go from 16 to 20.
Okay.
But if
Yeah.
you want 16, we
Yeah,
can
and I
use
think,
it.
Madam Chairman, through you, I think part of it, just to understand, so when the board votes, this goes as part of your license.
Okay.
And so without the building inspector, the building commissioner, and the board knowing exactly what your layout is, and that it's something that's allowable by square footage and code,
Okay.
it's hard for them to increase your seating
Okay.
on that particular, on the dumplings. On the other one, like the Selectman Chickalini's talking about, is, it's not an issue to reduce it, but all that has to be calculated and then voted, so it's in the
Okay.
minutes and on your permit and license.
Would it be possible to keep it at 20 then? As it is?
We could, because that's your existing license, and the
Okay.
building commissioner
If that's fine
would
with
support
you,
that.
And then if you want to increase it, just put the
Okay.
load that he's asking for in the layout.
Okay.
And then the commissioner would make a recommendation, and they would get a copy of that.
Sure.
And they would be able to then make a decision on it at a later date if you wanted to increase at dumplings.
Yeah, the building inspector actually said it would be best if we just left the seating, and I said the same thing as Selectman Chicalini, if they're reducing it, then what difference does it make? So what is it, as the applicant, what is it that you're looking for?
If we can remain the same, that's fine. 20 seating for Stella's, that's fine. If it has to be reduced or if it needs to be done, we can go 16, that's fine as well. I'm open to all scenarios. I don't want to cause any.
Are there any other questions? for board
Madam
members?
Chairman,
Yes, Selectman Serena.
I just go with the building inspector's recommendation right now. The manager's correct. And also, we do require a seating plan with a floor plan, which you did not provide.
Okay.
And just to note, Meredith, you're new on all these licenses, the seating amount should be on the licenses, included in the licenses, whether it's common vic or entertainment. And it looks like over the past several years that it hasn't been included on the license. It should be. It's not your fault, you're new, but
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. We're done with discussion with the board? This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak either in favor or opposed to this application? Seeing none, what are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair,
Selectman Chicalini?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Selectman Chicalini.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we grant the request of PPT Hospitality LLC, 255 Main Street, Unit A, Boxford, doing business as Stella Pizzeria, on their request for common victuals license and the entertainment license to operate Stella's Pizzeria at 463 Essex Street, Saugus, Mass. 01906. Kawis Safi, 51 Overlook Ridge, Malden, is the manager. The hours of operation will be Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., and the maximum seating would be 20.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, and
Okay, good luck.
now you can leave and come back. No, I'm kidding. So now we're ready for your second hearing, which I'm going to read into the
Madam
record.
Chair, the one thing, just to point out on that entertainment, it's only for one television.
Yes.
Per the application.
Okay.
That's what you asked for and paid for,
Right.
one television.
Yes, and I have a question. Would it be okay if I have TV menus, or do I need to apply for that as well? Like
Digital?
Digital menus.
I think that's okay, right?
They're not going to play anything, it's a display.
Probably, yeah. I think the other TVs are entertainment. I think
Yeah.
those are more of
The-
just a modern
that's
day
a-
of.
a modern-
Just modern menu.
Yeah, I would think that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as they're going to stay a menu and they're not,
Right.
scrolling through TV and
Yep.
stuff like that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Notice is hereby given that the Saugus Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on the request of PPT Hospitality LLC, 255 Main Street, Unit A, Boxford, Mass. 01921, doing business as Dumpling Garden, for a common victuals license and entertainment license to operate Dumpling Garden, 467 Essex Street, Saugus, Mass. 01906. And this is our 7:20 p.m. hearing, so good evening.
Hello. My name is
Welcome.
Kawasafi, 51 Overlook Ridge Drive, Malden, Massachusetts. And I'm looking to kindly request a common victual license for Dumpling Garden.
And an entertainment license for one TV?
Yes.
And your hours of operation, can you please let us, I have them here, but I
Sure.
just want to confirm.
Yes. It's going to be Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. till midnight. And then Saturday, it's 11 a.m. till 1 a.m. And Sunday is 11 a.m. till midnight.
Okay. And with Dumpling Garden, you wanted there to be 20 seats. Currently, there's 13 seats, and we're going to go with the 13 seats.
Yes.
Do board members have any questions? Any questions?
No, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
How's business?
It's picking up a little bit.
Good.
Thank you.
And what the fire department just says, they have no objections pending a life safety walkthrough and proper permitting and inspections of equipment installation. So I'm assuming you're going to just follow through with all the department recommendations. With that said, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak either in favor or opposed to this application? Seeing none, what are the wishes of the board?
Madam Chairman,
Selectman
I
Cogliano.
move to close the hearing.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Cogliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Selectman Cogliano.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request with the hours of operation Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to midnight, Saturday 11 to 1 a.m., and Sunday 11 to midnight. That's common victuals and entertainment.
And so that's going to be one television and 13 seats. Is there anything else that people want to add? That is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Selectman Cogliano's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Good
Thanks
luck.
for your time.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. It's now time for our first citizens' comments of the evening. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board? Seeing none, it's now time for our town manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Town Manager.
Good evening.
You have good news.
I do? I hope so. This is the, this is nice being here. It's bright, different setting. at the school committee room. Not too bad, right?
Can we keep them coming here?
Yeah, maybe we'll move them to the town hall. But, this is modern, right? And the town hall is very historic and, beautiful, and things are going really well there. They should be wrapping up this week, but they, as you know, I pointed out a few times that the interior there was really, becoming old and whatnot, so we, with the support of the board, we've really put our money and invested in trying to, we did the outside a few years ago, and we've been little by little doing the inside. But it's coming nice, and we'll work on, I think, the other plan would be the next few months is trying to fix the acoustics in there, I think, and try to get somebody that's an expert to figure out, because there's ways to do it. Obviously, it's, it's sort of an expertise, I think, and a niche of dealing with acoustics, but we'll try to figure that out, I think, to make it a little better. It seemed like it's gotten worse when you're in it. It's better at home, but not as good.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because I think a couple of the speakers were shut off, and there's probably a reason why they were shut off, because I think they got them running. They didn't change the speakers. It's probably because of somebody 20 years ago figured out that, there was an issue with it.
We always had a problem with the acoustics up in Town Hall for years.
Yeah.
It has gotten worse, so you're right. People at home can hear us fine, it's just
Yeah.
inside town.
So we'll work on figuring that out after we get through this. But couple things. Unfortunately, we weren't able to sort of balance it because we had a meeting scheduled this evening. But at the library tonight, they have a coyotes presentation going with somebody that has some expertise in dealing with the growing population of coyotes and figuring out how to coexist. And I just was told there's about 30 or 40 people that have attended this.
I was there for the first half hour.
Okay.
And I had to leave. It was, about 25, 30 people.
Yeah, so I guess it's going pretty well, and I guess people will be able to see that. I know, not just Saugus, every community is dealing with rodent issues, as well as coyotes, and we have a few dens throughout the community, so hopefully this will give some good information. This is being taped, so that people will be able to watch it, and obviously, this is the only day the speaker could make, so that worked out. But I think that's a great, something great for the community to get some information on, and trying to deal with that, because there's been dogs and different things and coyotes stalking people walking. I mean, it's pretty, we're obviously developing, and they have different seasons when they're mating, so certainly something to be concerned
Just
about.
like to note, too, on the Advocate did a pretty good article about it in Friday's paper. There was a good article, Mark, about the coyotes.
Oh, great, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Couple other things, townwide fall street sweeping is going to begin on Monday. September 30th is what is planned, with weather permitting and contractor and all that. And we'll have some information going up online. And they usually start in the areas of North Saugus and precincts 5 and 7. We're working on sort of a map that would be online. Again, there's no preciseness that we can call residents and say, we're going to be outside your house in an hour, or tomorrow. There's weather and there's different things, and we do the best we can do. We do the street sweeping townwide twice a year, and we also have about 18 sweeps of the main roads and business districts that we do on a regular basis throughout the year. So that's going to start, I think, the week of September 30th, October 7th, and the week of October 14th. And there'll be more information that'll be going up on the website and out to the newspapers in the next day or two. So I just wanted to give people a head start on that. Also, just to keep you posted on the sewer rehab project, 3A, the substation, that's starting pretty soon. That's going to be getting going, so that's good. That's, as everybody's aware, we're under ACO. This is some of the substations that are above and beyond that, back in your day, they did an evaluation, and they realized that a lot of these issues with the I&I infiltration and inflow of stormwater getting into the sewer system. So that this is part of that. It's been very, very successful. It's a model nationally now for the program that we put it together here with CDM Smith. And so we're continuing to do areas that weren't part of the 9, but obviously now we're 15 years later, need that rehab. And so we balance that with, trying to get those things done each year with some of the special financing. Also, just an update on the West Nile virus. We're trying to get as much information out as possible. Yesterday, the state announced that there was another human case of the West Nile virus in northern Essex County. Someone between the ages of 50 and 59. So Beverly, Wenham, Peabody, Manchester, Salem, Danvers, and Essex were raised to a moderate risk level. And just a reminder, Saugus is in, high risk level among some of the southern Essex towns and cities. So we just have to keep taking the precautions of wearing, long sleeves and using bug spray DEET if you can, or something of that effect. But just got to be careful. Again, 80% of people that are infected don't show symptoms, but obviously some people do. The triple E is obviously the one to really worry about. That hasn't been that close to us, but there's been cases of that as people have watched. But it's just something to be concerned about. We didn't have rain for, I think, almost 30 days. I think that doesn't help in some ways, the wet and the dry. But they say that the mosquito problem will be here until we sort of get our first frost. I think it's like 2 or 3 days that are under a certain temperature, like 25 degrees or something, or 30 degrees. So hopefully we'll get there soon. I don't wish for cold weather, but that would help, I think, alleviate some of the issues. Because it's real. It's definitely something that people can get sick from. So people should be aware of it and stay informed. We had a water break this late afternoon on Talbot Street. So the water was off there. That affects some of the area up with the housing, Waybright School area. It looks like they've got that alleviated for now and the water back on. We also had, as you probably saw in Ballard Street, we had a water break, and it's still having an issue. So they're actually, in the next day or two, are going to dig that back up. And I think try to use a different, like a full straight pipe with some valve on each side, and try it a different way. They just, we're still getting leakage there, but it's not constant. It seems like it might be, there's some flex there with, going from steel or whatever they use to PVC with the valves. So that's going to be dug up in the next day or two, just to make people aware of that.
So, Madam Chair, just a quick question before you go
Sure.
to the next thing. Is there a plan, though, Ballard Street where they built the new UPS, at the end of Ballard, that road is completely deplorable. Is there a plan to pave up to like Tom's Bait Shop and in that area? Because that whole road is just a mess.
Yeah, so obviously the heavy trucking
Yeah.
that comes down those main roads does have an effect on it. It has effect on Easton Ave, Dudley. But one of the reasons that they've held off is that there was a bunch of water main that was replaced. There
So
was a
they
couple
wanted to
different
settle.
projects. The state did one project, we did another, and then like with the bridges there, with the guardrails, there's pieces that were done there, but there's a small section of water main that was not replaced. So we've been trying to do that. It's a little bit complicated in the sense of, so we've had it designed a couple times and we've gone out to bid, and it was much more expensive than anticipated. So we're trying to work on linking that with a couple other water main projects at the same time to hopefully bring the price down by getting one contractor. So there is a plan, and once that's done, then we would look at repaving, because even down by the light, it's really beat up. We've been
Yeah, it
fixing the
is.
potholes, but we're not going to pave it and then rip it up in
Right.
3 months
No,
or
of course.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, the road
So-
has to be
so-
done
Right,
for-
so, because we get a lot of calls on it, I try to explain that, everything is
I just notice it
automatic.
now because,
Yeah.
just driving down 107 and coming on Ballard, that
Right.
there is.
Correct.
That intersection's in rough
Doesn't
shape.
the state own it from 107 up to the Fox Hill Yacht Club?
I think they do, yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
state road, that
Correct.
part of Ballard Street.
So we'd have to do the paving in conjunction with the state?
I think, so they've already done some of the projects, so we're going to be doing some of it and have to work it out with them, but we're trying to figure it out. My understanding is that there's a little bit more complications with the water main tie-ins there. And that's sort of, they thought it was going to be a certain amount, and it's a lot, it's, I think double or more. And then as everybody knows, the longer you wait,
The more expensive it
the
gets.
cost is, right now, we're as any of you guys probably, everybody probably is aware, but it's really more now than it ever was. Before, we talked about years, a couple of years ago, saying, oh, things are going up. The cost of doing work now, not only for the, before it was like, oh, the supply, chain and all that, it's the cost of labor is very, very expensive. And
We have
to
an
get people
election
to-
coming up, though.
What's that? Yeah. So I think that hopefully,
Might help the inflation.
yeah, so hopefully that, but I think sometimes this stuff never comes back down, but
Yeah.
people are getting the money and people are paying, so it's hard, but we're definitely feeling the effects of that, so that we try to be conservative when we go for an appropriation at town meeting and say, okay, let's get 300,000 for this, and then all of a sudden, now that used to be enough with a cushion, now we're into 500,000, you say, okay, we gotta either get money from somewhere else or go back to town meeting, which, can be complicated, because you go back and then more questions come up, because, well, how come it's, more money, but that happens, and, I think that we're getting better at that, we're pretty conservative at making sure we get enough money, but
Thank you.
that's the prognosis and the future plans for Ballard Street.
Mr. Manager?
Sure.
The state's going to be redesigning that intersection too. They're widening and making extra
Correct.
lanes there. Would it be, just my thought, would instead of piecemealing this whole thing, would it be better to run a new main from 107 down to where the break is before they,
So that's all new, believe it or not. There's
Oh, it
only-
is?
There's only, yeah, so that's what's been done, a whole bunch of that. There's only one piece that's not been completed, and the state wouldn't cover it, so it was like on us. And I think they even have, it's just a lot more. They thought it was gonna be a couple $100,000, it's a lot more. And that was a few years ago, so.
you know what I'm wondering?
Yeah.
I'm not an expert,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
wondering, when they built the deck, all the big telephone pole pilings they pounded in, I wonder if that had anything to do with the pipe that keeps leaking and right across the street from it.
Well, I think
don't know.
I don't know either, but I think the leaking has to do with, I think that the theory is, or at least their running thoughts are, is that it has to do with using different materials and going to PVC, and they
Yeah.
have high-velocity valves, and I think that transition, and there might be some play, even though they've packed it, that when heavy trucks are going over, that it's got some play, and it's pushing water out. They're gonna, obviously, I think what their plan is, the way I understand it right now, is to cut that back out and then just use one straight, iron pipe or whatever they use for the piping, the steel, and then connect it with the valves, rather than have like 3 different types of materials. And we'll see, so we'll know soon. There is, not to get into this, I know we'll go down this sort of rabbit hole, but the MWA also has a water main right next to it. So there's been, MWA keeps trying to claim they don't have an issue and it's not theirs. So we don't know, when they dig it up again, then we'll have a better idea if it is, us or the MWRA. But they say that it's not their main. But there's 2 mains that run next to each other, one that we have and one MWRA has.
Okay.
Let's see what else. Also, as Debbie talked, we had, we announced, this happened earlier this year, but the S&P Global Rating affirmed when we went out to borrow, the town's excellent bond rating. And I think that people should understand that, the better credit that we have from the town, the more money we can borrow. And historically, this is the best bond rating we've ever had in the history of Saugus. I know we've had it for a while now, but it's not that easy to maintain. And I think that all of us, the board, finance committee, town meeting, department heads, and the finance team have really done a great job at being recognized from the rating company of what we're doing and all these plans. And people say, why are we putting money into OPEB? Why are we, paying down the pension? All those things are contributors, and I think it's just, it's a tribute to everybody working together and being on the same page and understanding that finances matter. Because we've all lived here our whole lives. We used to fight over, we don't have any money, we can't fix anything. Now we're fighting over, well, how come we're not fixing this playground and we're fixing this one first? That never happened in our lifetime living here. And so that is a good argument to have, and better than having an argument that we have zero money and we can't fix windows and doors. But the bond rating, and if you think of it in simple terms, if you have great credit, you can borrow money, say, to buy a house, and you're paying less borrowing costs, so less of your money's going towards interest, and more of it's going to buy the house, the principal. And so we're able to do more projects, with the taxpayers' money, and we're saving every time we borrow. And I think, Jeff's obviously Selectman Chickley, he's in this business of auditing and understanding finances, Debbie as well, and I know Mike and Anthony have been around long enough to know this. But to have people lending us money and competing for, to lend us money is unheard of, prior, in the prior decades. I mean, we were at a point when I first took over, we couldn't even get anybody to lend the town money at all, zero, like we couldn't get a lender. And the rates were astronomical. So the savings are incredible, and I just want to thank everybody, because sometimes people overlook this. It's really, really important to have that foundation, because then we can argue over where we're going to spend it. Before, we never were arguing over spending money. We were arguing over what are we cutting, what are we doing to lay off. And, and as you know, we've brought on Mike Gaffney is helping put some of the stuff out, the information that I have that I just couldn't do. We were balancing that, and it's great to have him on board, but he came from Gloucester. They had 35 people laid off. That's how he came here, just in the school department. And that's not like an anomaly. That's most communities are laying off over the last 3 years because of their financial practices, and sort of like worrying about saying the next guy can worry about it next year and I won't be here and it's somebody else's problem. And I think we've done great as a community, as a board, as a finance committee and a town meeting, even through elections and changes, of everybody sort of staying together and staying on the same message to adhere to the financial management policies that make sense, and that have now, we're reaping the benefits over the last few years of being able to improve infrastructure, deliver services, and figure out, how we can pay people, monies that are compatible with other communities, and to try to do that. And we're trying to do the best we can do. But I really commend everybody for your support. The board has obviously been behind this 100% from the beginning, and I just want to thank everyone.
And thank you, of course, and your administration. It does take a village sometimes, and I think that is just phenomenal that we're able to maintain the AA+ S&P standing. So congratulations again.
We've come a long way, Scott.
Yeah.
Remember 2012, we had to go up to State House to use their bond rating.
I remember.
Had to do a whole
Borrow
presentation
money.
and say, basically, we have no money, we have nothing, can we use your bond rating, which is not even close to what we have now, but
Yeah.
we had just to borrow anything, and that put us in a better,
Sounds
that
like
started.
the Voc School's borrowing.
Yeah. And the vote thing is, not to get into the thing, but, it's worrisome. Obviously, it's less. And, the problem is we have less students, so
Students, yeah.
I don't know if that's going
Are
to,
we losing opportunities for the?
right.
for
And
our-
so if
for
it ever
our
goes
students?
back up, then we're going to be paying what we predicted.
Yeah.
So they've reduced it. I don't know if that's sort of, we still can't figure out that anomaly, but we're going to be down to less than 80 students. They're only admitting 18 or 19 students at the Voc a year, which is not what used to happen. It used to be, in the high 20s.
Yeah.
30 we had over, almost 200 average over a 6-year period. So, and the Voc's a phenomenal school, great opportunities there.
But do we know why? Do we know that, do we have just a lot of our Saugus students sitting on waiting lists?
Yes, there's a lot on the waiting list, correct.
And they're just only allowing that small percentage in from Saugus? I mean, how do they decide? Because we're paying a lot of money to
Yeah,
send students
which is
there.
one of the issues with the paying is a different formula that people agree and disagree,
I
right?
understand.
But I think the proportionate part of it is that we're probably proportionately getting what we're supposed to get in, which is 18 or 19 students. But in the past, if other communities weren't
Filling it out.
using all their, like if you're in, say, Reading or North Reading, and you're allotted 30 spots or 20 spots, and you only take 4 a year, then those others were divvied up. I don't know, like, if now they were divvied up between communities. Now I don't know how it works off that wait list, but I think that's the key to it. But hopefully, I think the Finance Committee asked some
But
questions, hopefully they get some
Based on the
information.
reimbursement formula, though, we pay one of the higher rates per student.
That's right.
Yes.
Because we question that. So wouldn't it make sense for them financially to give more slots to the Saugus kids?
Yep.
Than other communities that are paying less per head? Because we know, we did a test on Chelsea.
Yes.
And Revere and some of the other communities.
Chelsea and Revere have gone up almost 30%
Yeah.
in the last couple of years.
So they're paying less per student. So if I had an open slot and I knew I could get X plus 30%, or 20%, I would give the slot to the community that's going to pay more.
Right.
We've been complaining about that formula now for decades.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works out, but I think, we'll see how that part of it goes. A couple other things, Founder's Day, I think, you guys will probably talk about, I think it was a great, phenomenal day, and I want to thank everyone, building maintenance, DPW, fire, police, DPW, Youth and Rec, everybody for really, it's a lot to put on, and I think that it seems like, oh, we do this every year and it's easy. It's a lot to do, and there's a lot of people involved in this that are putting this together for a great, and it was a beautiful day.
And what's more amazing, you drive by 3-4 hours later, it's like we never had an
Cleaned up.
event.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, that was incredible.
I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
I
What a
literally
great
drove
job.
by and it was like Founder's Day didn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's kudos to the team for that.
Yep, and we've done some improvements out, we're doing, really stepped up with the landscaping, trying to plant more
Yeah.
flowers. We've done some stuff which will, at some point, I think, we're trying to work out some of the bumps in the road with the Riverwalk project, but hopefully we'll have something soon with the state to sort of celebrate that. We just had a meeting on site, or our representatives had a meeting on site to try to work out some of the workmanship issues.
And just for all the critics out there,
Yeah.
that project obviously was
Grant money, yeah,
grant money, but also overseen by not just the town of Saugus, but
Correct.
state.
correct.
And
And engineer,
they're-
and a third-party engineer.
And
yes.
they're aware of some of the issues that needed to be fixed on the dock and
Correct.
things like that.
Yep.
That was all spec'd. It wasn't like the town of
Oh,
Saugus
no,
chose
yeah.
that.
No,
And
it's all designed by people that are marine experts and
Yeah.
have different things. And some of it's, modern, and some of it, we've identified some issues, and they're working on resolving that. And, if they're design issues, then it's on the designer, right? So we're trying to work through that. We actually brought on Kevin Nigro and PMA to look it over. As you know, they did an excellent job with the school project and the other projects in there. Brought them on as helping with overseeing a lot of these projects. They're experts and great on with change orders and sort of, making sure that you don't run into problems. And I think when we did the paint and did the renovation of the outside of Town Hall, we sort of figured out pretty quickly, better bring somebody on, and we hired somebody for them to oversee for $20,000 or $21,000 to oversee $600,000 of taxpayer money to make sure it was done correctly, so they're not going to Home Depot and buying the wood, and it's supposed to be a certain type of wood and all that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it when you run a project. I try to explain that to people. Anthony's in the contracting world. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. There's a lot more nuances and issues, and if you bid for the certain type of faucet, and then somebody puts a cheaper faucet in, and, that's the stuff that needs to be looked at, and you need outside people to do that. I think it makes it a lot easier. So anyways, but we'll work through that. It's a beautiful thing. We just had the landscaping done down there as well. Sprinklers
I know
turned on.
the Penny family was very complimentary
Yeah.
of everything that was done down there, how beautiful.
Oh, it's going to be, it's really,
It's a nice tribute
if you've
to-
been down there, out on the deck and stuff, it's beautiful down there. And hopefully we'll get some furniture for next year and get that going.
Big
It'll be
screen
nice.
TV outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Manager, while we're on the
Yeah.
Riverwalk thing, I have a request from some of the neighbors. The crosswalk across, right in front of the deck on Ballard Street, and
Yeah.
there's another one on the end of Dudley Street that meets Ballard.
Yeah.
The handicap ramps are there. Can we get some of them pedestrian signs with the arrow like we
Sure.
did in Cliftondale? They put one of them, the state put one of them in front of Lobsterman's Landing to cross the street and walk out to the Mumney Marsh.
Yeah.
If we can get two at them locations, that'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah, just, one of the things that we were gonna do, but there's too many water mains, believe it or not. We were actually gonna have a bump out, to slow traffic down a little bit and have a crossing from Vitale over to the state, but we ended up taking that out of the design because of the complications of digging and bringing out sidewalks because of those mains that are underneath there. They didn't realize that when they originally designed it, but we'll, on the pedestrian
Yeah.
signs, we'll get some of those out.
Thank you.
Let's see, I think, just a couple other things. Just to sort of, I guess we're gonna have the impact of the gas mains, but we have the Essex Street, National Grid is starting a gas main project on Essex Street. Sort of in that same area they were already working, but this is for the gas main that's right in front of Anna Parker in that area on Essex Street. I think it's 100 to 120. So I think they started on Monday or Tuesday. I think yesterday they started doing some of that work. They were originally, so you'll see that, which I'm not thrilled with, but they made a mess of like where Sweets of School is in Lincoln Ave, that area. they were supposed to be doing that project starting this week.
They marked
And
it
they
all out.
decided not to do it till next year, but it's like, it looks like Christmas. I mean, there's 15 different colors there. And I don't know, we're gonna try to figure out if if they'll stay there for next year in the spring when they do it, but they're not gonna do that project now. They decided at the last minute. So, but anyways, they're doing that main now on Essex Street. And I think that's all I have for this evening. And obviously, if you're here, you've seen that the project here for the drainage that we were working on really became more of a drainage type project. But that project is so far with the before, when we had rain, we haven't had rain for a little while, 30 days, but holding up pretty good. And I think I talked about this. It was sort of not necessarily a beautification project, or it started out to be, but it really turned into a drainage thing where we're trying to hold some of that water underneath so it doesn't come down. But there's a ton of water that comes off the stormwater off the roofs that when they did that renovation, they redirected a lot of the waters. But people are happy with it. They can see straight out, and probably in the spring next year we'll do some plantings or have some sort of flower pots to really dress it up. So that I think is a benefit to the town. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions for the town manager? I just want to comment on the communication. That was one of the priorities of this board, and I do appreciate the news blasts. I think it's important that the residents and the people that want to know, it's right out there for them. So I think that, the more communication, the better. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about I know a bunch of you talked about trying to do more of the videos. We're trying to get the videos out,
Yeah.
which I think are good, and we're getting things on cable, so hopefully, there's a ton of stuff that we're doing, and we've been doing for a long time, and I think that was a challenge for me, trying to get that information out, because I have my sleeves rolled up and doing other things and projects and whatnot, to be able to sit down and write press releases and news releases to get them out there. So this has been beneficial, and I appreciate the board. I sort of joke with people, if I said I'm going to hire someone to do this, then people would probably be critics of it. But you guys pushed it, and it was your idea, so I think it's a great idea, and it's worked out really well, and so far, so good. And I think it gives us the ability to let the taxpayers know what their tax money is doing, and us being able to continue to do all kinds of things. So there's a bunch more stuff. I have 10 different press releases already waiting to go from some of the things that you can see around town that we've been doing at the Roby School, at the Annex Building, the Legion. All those things are the Senior Center. There's tons of things that we're doing all over town to improve the infrastructure, things that weren't done for 50, 60 years. So, and that prevents higher costs later and emergency issues that are real costly in the middle of the winter or whatnot. I mean, you're not going to rid all of it, but it puts us in a much better position, I think, of being preventive maintenance.
Thank you. And you talked about street sweeping starting September 30th. How are we going to get that information out to the public so they can move their cars into the driveways or, off the street?
I don't know if you'll get them to move them off the street or into the driveway, but we'll have that information going on the next day or two.
Will it be a robocall?
No, there'll be a news release, and it'll be
On the
on
website.
cable and the website, and we'll have a map or whatnot, and it'll take place over probably a 3-week period, as it usually does twice a year.
We just want to get the word out to the residents.
Yeah. I think people that want to know, and you know what I mean? But I think the idea of trying to get people to move their cars, it's sort of like maybe 20 years ago or 10 years. I think people it doesn't affect them, and,
Some places,
You know.
some people don't have the place to put the cars.
correct.
They have 4 cars in a 2-car
Correct.
driveway, and
Right.
living
And
in,
if you go into, you want to go to Cambridge or Somerville or Malden, in the cities, they have things up there, street sweeping, and
No
they
parking.
tow everybody's
They
car,
tow
ticket and
everybody's
tow, and then you have a different issue with everybody complaining they got a ticket and their car towed. So it's like we have a ban on parking overnight, right? Or it just, how do you enforce it without, it's sort of where we still have a town, we're still a town, but we have sort of mixed issues.
at some point down the road, maybe when we even consider the next contract that we go out to bid for, if that's a contract that one of the ones that we go out to bid for, I wonder if we could put in the contract that they have to, like, mark the poles that, the week before or whatever, saying that these dates
Yeah.
were going to be in this precinct or something.
Yeah.
For the average person, just to understand, because, some people say, I'm not on social media and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But even at the entrance of the street, it doesn't have to be every single pole, but at the entrance of the street, let the street sweeping company, have them do it.
Yeah.
Those orange signs
Yep.
that say, street sweeping these dates or whatever, just to kind of give them a heads up.
Yeah. No, I mean, we'll try. I think that's a good idea.
I
mean, we did with the leaf pickup, and it's the same thing, but you still get people saying, well, I didn't know they were coming out.
Right.
And it's like.
I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned
Yeah.
if you don't, then no one's going to always be fully happy,
Yeah,
but,
we do have a map that's going to be put out, and hopefully that will.
That should be a big
give a
step.
little bit better. We did a little bit last year.
as
We're
long
doing
as the
same
company
thing today.
adheres to the map.
The problem is if it rains or there's
Yeah.
weather, then sometimes they don't do it, or, they're never going to be, they're trying to get in and out, so it's like anything, we have to bird dog them, and it's a task in itself. And the street sweeping, we've had problems with other companies that we've had to let go and ended up in litigation. But it's not it's not like there's 20 companies, there's only 2 or 3 companies that do the whole state.
Right.
So you're like dealing with whatever it is, and I remember years ago, we were on the board, right, they would bid it, and then they'd only do it once a year, which you're sort of required to do it twice a year, but we thought they were doing it twice a year, remember? When I first got on the board, that was like the issue we dealt with.
We won't go back.
Yeah, so, but we are doing it twice a year, and I did incorporate when I first took over that you had street sweeping all year, like in the business district and the main streets to sort of help clean that up, so. The other thing I keep getting dinged on, and I think some of you guys are thinking is there was some barrels down in the Lynn Saugus line. Those are not Saugus barrels. Somebody took a rain barrel, looks like cut the top off, and it has a Saugus sticker, they're old rain barrels that we used to give away, and put it there, and then put a small, like, tin can.
And they stuck a
Yeah.
Saugus sticker on it. I
Yeah.
go, well, don't you think it's weird that there's no other barrels with Saugus
Yeah.
stickers on them? I mean,
We don't have those.
And we
kind of
don't have
barrels, yeah. So
silver
so I think we
trash
took care of it, so hopefully that'll resolve the issue,
Yeah.
but I don't know, I mean, it was like, there's a whole, the property lines down there are a little strange anyway, I
Yeah.
think. But anyways, hopefully I don't think they have to put it somewhere, if Lynn's gonna have that, or it's Lynn that's putting it out, or, I don't know, I mean, but anyways, we took care of it.
Obviously, the other people will say, well, why aren't there trash barrels on the rail trail? And
That's the reason why, yeah.
And not
Yeah.
only that, if you put them on the ends of the rail trail, when people have trash in the middle, you think they're going to carry their trash the entire length of the rail trail until they get to a barrel? No, they're going to dump it
Yeah.
in the middle. If you put the barrels on the inside, you can't drive a trash truck into
No.
the rail trail, so you're going to have the DPW guys walk in a mile and a half.
Yep, yeah, you hope that
into
people
grab
just use
barrels.
their head. I mean, I think it's every so often, we have all these organizations every year that do the trail, rail trail cleanup. The Boy Scouts, I think, Save, there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of, I think even Wind, I think, did it one year or something.
Saugus River Watershed
Yeah, Saugus
Council.
River Watershed. So I think everybody's done something and organized people to do it, and I think we just have to rely on that. I think, like, we brought this up, I think, 2 years ago with the barrels in Cliftondale and Saugus Center. I mean, you go to Revere, they've gotten rid of all the trash barrels, and, a lot of times I vacation down the Jersey Shore, like, down there, it's totally different. You pay for, to go on the beach, you don't pay for parking. So parking's free, but you can't bring coolers or anything onto the boardwalk. Like, you have to put your stuff on the boardwalk, you can't bring it onto the beach, it's not allowed. It's all gated, and the beaches are pristine. So there's like you can't bring anything down, so if you want something to drink, you gotta go back up to your cooler, everybody has coolers up in the thing, and you pay to go on the beach with a badge. And you don't pay for parking, whereas here, we pay for parking, and the beaches, sort of, everybody brings and leaves all their trash there. But I think that's the same concept. Down at Revere Beach, they took all the barrels out, because it was the same thing, people just dumping their house trash there, because the people have trash fees in other communities. So we took them out, and we don't see any more trash in the gutters and all that stuff. But, other people might say it's an inconvenience because there's no barrel to throw something in, but I don't think it wasn't really, I think that's worked out so far, so good, removing them. I think there's less trash in the square in Cliftondale. So, sorry for the long thing, but,
No, it's all important.
yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have the August 20th, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the
And
minutes.
that is seconded by the chairman. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Sereno's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
One other thing, Madam Chair, I know you had brought up about that Main Street, the contractors yet, a couple of meetings, so I did have them go out and look at it. They sent me a report, but I just sent another email because I was thinking about that when we had the meeting, and I asked them to see where they're at and to talk to town council if they've identified that it's still going on,
Okay.
to then take whatever action, because there's a process of, like Freddie used to do, you go and take a probable cause hearing out if they're in fact not adhering to it, but they have fines that are, you know, tabulating daily there. So I don't, you know, so I think that I'll have a follow-up with them, but they did send me some information when I asked, because they said, I thought this was, we haven't heard anything, I thought it was resolved a couple of years ago, back in 2022, but it sounds like it's still going on. It sounds, I think it's like, I went and looked at it myself, it looks like they have some kind of stockade fence that they're moving, bringing the truck in, parking it, and maybe even have dumpsters in there,
Yeah.
but at different times. So I think they just have to spend the time to identify it in inspectional services, and then move forward, document that this is still going on, and go take a complaint out. And I
Thank you,
think
I
that's the only
appreciate
way
it.
it's going to resolve it.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome.
You know, with that said, as long as we're talking issues, we've gotten quite a few traffic requests for the police to go out and come up with recommendations. So I've been sending all of those to Meredith, who's been sending them to the police department. So as soon as we get information, I want to reach out to the people who contacted us so they could figure out, or we can figure out how to alleviate some of these issues. Okay, the next item on the agenda is members' comments. Selectman Cogliano?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have nothing tonight, but I did want to bring up a point from Selectman Riley. She asked me to touch upon the, something you see on social media, the late-night break-ins of the cars. Mr. Manager, any update as to where we're at with that?
So I know the police have, this has been, actually, I know it just came out on social media, but it's been going on for a while. I have, up in my neighborhood, it's been, people have had them on Ring cameras. And I've talked to other communities, so this is going on in other communities as well. And it's, you know, kids, like, so in other words, you see kids with hoods on, there's like 3 of them, they get out, walk on a thing, and they're checking doors, and trying to just get whatever they can in people's cars. So we've had a few of those, and some people probably don't even know what happened. But I would just, you know, obviously, a common sense thing would be make sure your car's locked at night. You know, don't leave
anything
valuables, don't
valuable,
leave things showing up. And people, I think, get used to it because all the cars lock automatically. Years ago, you'd have to go around to each door
That
and
is true.
back and look at kids and lock every door. Now you just push a button. But I think that we just have to be more diligent on doing that because kids are coming in from out of town, I think, and they're hitting areas that are probably near the lines, like Revere Line or Lynn Line or whatever. But it is going on in other communities as well. But we just have to keep an eye on the police are definitely looking into it. You know, I have a neighbor that up the street and they had him on Ring camera. You know, and they went in and, you know, he had the neighbor, you know, it was his Ring camera that picked up the neighbor's car that they went in. That was like a month or 2 ago. So it's definitely happening, and I think it's just random, so it's going to be challenging to do that. I mean, the only thing that helps us is that everything's recorded now. I mean, you can't do anything, right? They follow your phone, you got an Apple Watch, they know where you've been and where you go. So that's the only thing that I think that people, you know, we may have a shot at getting is because it's on camera. So, but yeah, no, police are definitely aware of it and looking into it, sort of like I don't know, some new thing. You know, it's probably like someone gets the eye, sees it, and then they get the idea, and it's going on everywhere. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Selectman Sereno?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to thank the manager of some improvements we're doing in Cliftondale Square with the safety, pedestrian safety there. We have the lights up at several crosswalks, so that's good.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about it. So it took a little while because we had some
lights.
grant money and we were trying to navigate that, but we have them at Jackson Street. And I was going to put something out next week or the end of the week about it, but we have some there at the Mobile and the ice cream place. So
Right.
that you can push the button and you get a reaction.
Yep, that's good. And I took a ride down near the Parker today. That's moving along pretty fast.
Very fast,
They were
yeah.
looks like they were setting forms up to pour a footing for the hockey rink,
Yep.
the skating rink. Do we have any more words on Golden Hills, Scott Playground? Has that been resolved? The
We're still working on
property line
it.
issues?
Yeah, we're still working on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll have something for, we'll move towards, design into next year, into the spring.
Okay, and just finally, we all attended Founder's Day, and I'd like to congratulate Persons of the Year, Mary Dunlap and Bill Boomhow. I've known them for years. Thank them for their volunteer service for the town. And I checked out the landscaping, it looks good, Town Hall looks really nice. I want to thank Caesar's Landscaping, who did the landscaping there, planted all the flowers. It looks great.
Yeah.
And that's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
and
Select-
just, I'm sorry, go ahead. Just to add one thing, you talked about the sidewalks. If you notice too, we're in a round now of doing a ton of sidewalks all over town. So different locations, the contractor is out, so you'll see in the past week and the next 2 weeks, a ton of different sidewalks that we have as a total bid, that we're doing a whole bunch of them at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Sereno. Selectman Vice Chair Ciccolini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Short and sweet. Shout out, Mr. Manager, to the DPW crew. There was a lot of requests that came through, and from what I've heard, everything was addressed, and I appreciate it. I know they're busy and they got a lot going on, and I appreciate all of that happening. You mentioned a lot of the things I wanted to cover, so I'm not going to be redundant. I did want to know, are we done with street paving for this season, or is there still street paving going on?
I think that they might be, I think there might be a couple.
But they're winding down, right?
Yes, oh yeah, definitely, yeah. So they've done, so not to go into another thing, but
Yeah.
honestly, we've done this year record amount of paving. We've done, I think, $3.2 million in paving through, grants, Chapter 90 appropriation that we did in state grant funding, So we've done, normally in a normal year, we do 700,000. We did $3.2 million.
That's awesome.
And so we're doing a ton of things going on.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
some
that's
long
good.
roads, too.
Yes, yeah.
Between the Easton Ave
Yep.
and Dudley and some of those ones, those were.
Yeah, it's just everything is really expensive, so you have to try to figure out, we have a rating system, we try to figure out streets that are more traveled. Obviously, heavy trucks is a big issue, it wears down a lot of those roads, but we've done a lot, especially up on Walnut Street.
That's all I have, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Ciccolini. I just have a few things. I'm not going to reiterate everything about Founder's Day, but it was a huge success. I'm going to thank everybody involved, and of course, our town manager. Trivia night is going to be held at the Kowloon. The Saugus Business Education Collaborative is hosting. This is Thursday, October 17th. Both Selectman Cogliano and I are on that board. If you are interested in playing, registration forms may be picked up at the Saugus Public Schools, at the School Administration Building, North Shore Bank, Route 1 South, and Rossetti Insurance. But it's a lot of fun, and the proceeds all go to the schools. The Knights of Columbus are having a flea market. They're located at 57 Appleton Street on Saturday, October 19th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's always a lot of fun. The Breakheart Fall Festival is coming up this Saturday, and which is September 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's food, there's all sorts of fun things to do for the children. There's supposed to be an owl show, but it's always a wonderful time, and it's a free family event. Sincere condolences go out to the Manugian family for their family's loss of David Manugian, and sincere condolences also go out to the Scuzzarella, Saunders, and De Gregorio families for the loss of Anna De Gregorio Saunders. Our next Board of Selectmen meeting will be held on a Thursday, October 17th. We should be back at the Town Hall Auditorium. Is that correct, Mr. Town Manager?
Oh, yeah, by then, I hope so. Let's just,
I would hope so, too. I just wanted to make sure.
Actually, I like it here.
I like it here, too. I think this is very nice.
This isn't a bad thing.
love it here at the senior center. It's beautiful.
And the last question is, and for you, Mr. Town Manager, Selectman Sereno talked about Golden Hills, and we're going to be doing some work on Stalker Playground as well, correct? Okay, because we're getting lots of calls on that playground as well.
All
I'm
three?
sorry, Stackpole.
All three.
I apologize. Well, yes, all three.
See, I love having discussions about what we're going to spend more money on. That's good for the community, rather than
Hey,
fighting
we
over
have a
who
double
we're
A plus rating.
who we're laying
so
off, right? Who we're laying off. That
Okay.
used to be the old discussions.
It's now time for our last citizens' comment of the evening. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the board?
Good evening, Matt Palante, Precinct 2, Town Meeting.
Good evening.
All this talk about crosswalks, I just wanted to bring the attention to another one and request that those crosswalk signs get placed Pleasant Avenue and Essex. So right when you come off the highway, Pleasant Ave is right there, crosses over. There's a lot of kids that cross that street, and the crosswalk is pretty faded, and there's no indication that there's a crosswalk there. So you have people coming, over the overpass on Route 1, coming off Route 1, and they just fly right by. And I saw a kid dodge a car the other day. So
What was the other street besides Pleasant?
Pleasant Ave and Essex.
Oh, just Pleasant Ave. at
Pleasant Ave at Essex,
Essex,
correct,
okay.
yeah. There's a crosswalk right there at the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had this conversation through you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
Over the last few months, it's just, the driving has just become different now. People don't like stop at a stop sign, no one lets you out. I mean, I pull in sometimes where what is it called, House of Pizza is. You can't even back up. People won't even let you back up. Or at the library, you
Right.
can't even back up. People just like think that the way you drive is you push your way into the traffic because there's so much traffic. It's completely changed, and with pedestrians and everything else, it's become complicated. And there's a balance even with the bikes, and sort of bike people sort of have feel that they have the right of way, which they do. And it's if you ever drive in Somerville or Cambridge, it's it's
Not when they're driving like imbeciles.
well, right, but you go to Com Ave, they have the bikes are going
Oh, yeah.
both ways, on
Yeah.
each side of where you parked your car. It's so there's a whole thing that's going on, but the driving has become much more, people just, it's totally different. I know there's more traffic, but people aren't stopping when somebody goes across the road in a crosswalk, they just keep going. You can't, you pull out Winter Street, people just pull out everywhere, the stop signs don't mean anything anymore.
And people
It's
don't know the
definitely
rules of a rotary either.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, they're texting, they're on the phone.
And we've tried that down in Cliftondale, sort of, that's the design there to do that, to see how that would work out. I think if you maybe have some permanent stuff, it might be better, but the problem is it's not as large as some of the other rotaries that it works in, and that was sort of the pushback from the traffic engineers, that it's, see if people can get used to this before you try to do anything else, because it's a tight area, it can create more issues, where people bang into, it's almost going through a drive-through.
They'll be driving through Sons of Sicily.
Yeah, if you go, it's almost like going to Essex Street through the drive-through at Dunkin' Donuts, it's,
On a positive note, the Dunkin' Donuts on Hamilton Street is under repair.
really? Debbie will be happy about
That's
that.
fantastic.
I have been waiting now since April. I mean,
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
place.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
it's under repair. They
Jeff's too, yeah.
Well, I see Jeff there quite often, actually.
had to relocate, and I'm not a fan, so.
He likes the iced
Good
coffee.
thing we have
I
enough
like the hot
choices.
coffee. I
There's
know.
enough Dunkin' Donuts in Saugus.
Well, it's interesting because people that, like, we've hired a couple new people, and they ask, well, where can you get a coffee? And it used to be like you can walk down to Dunkin' Donuts, but if you think about it, you
No.
have to sort of,
Yeah.
it's not a lot of places to get a cup of coffee
No.
now. You know what I mean?
No,
Right
the
in that
closest
area.
one to there is either the old Dairy Barn or,
Yeah, you gotta get
Essex
in your
Street.
car, whereas they could
Yeah.
walk and take a walk and come back,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
Come over to my house.
It's under repair, thank God.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board before we adjourn? Seeing none? Yes. Yes, I did. Selectman Chickley, you just wanted to make sure that I announced that it was being recorded, which I did at the beginning,
Don't want anyone
but
to tell it.
but it's good to have someone make sure. But thank you very much for that. So, a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, well, all those in favor, of adjourning, please
Aye.
indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Good night,
motion carries
everybody.
4-0.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone, thank you for coming.
Good night.
Thank you, board members.